I'm Derrick Evil. This is Addict MMA. Thanks for joining me. This is UFC 130 main card breakdown and predictions. And to start things off, we've got Thiago Alves taking on Rick Story. This is going to be a very interesting fight just because I like Thiago Alves, and Rick Story is an emotional fighter who puts everything he throws into his punches and into his takedowns, and he's just a very good fighter. But I'm going to have to say, given the experience of a Thiago Alves and the caliber of matches he's been in recently, I'm going to say that, I think Thiago could probably win this fight. His stand-up is definitely crisper, better than Rick Story's. Very powerful as Thiago Alves in that division, 170 pounds. So to me, even though Rick Story's coming off a fight win streak, he's a good wrestler from Southern Oregon University. At the end of the day, Thiago Alves is a kind of guy who's been against top grapplers and wrestlers such as GSP, John Fitch, and I think after fighting a couple of guys like that a few times, to come down to a Rick Story might be a little refreshing for him, and he might actually be able to utilize some very good defensive skills when it comes to grappling that will end up being successful for him. I don't think Rick Story's wrestling is going to be strong enough to hold down to Thiago Alves for very long. I think Thiago Alves will stay safe from Rick Story's his wrestling, and win the fight with his stand-up. With that being said, Thiago Alves, second, maybe third round. I can definitely see this happening TKO style. Next on the list, Jorge Santiago versus Brian Stann. Brian Stann looked very good against Chris Lieben. I didn't think he could pull it off that way. I really thought Chris Lieben would end up winning that fight by a knockout or at least a submission. But Brian Stann came out on top with a TKO in the first round. Very impressive, probably the most impressive I've seen him. I wouldn't say that that's how he's going to fight every time. Lieben definitely leaves his chin open to be hit. People hit it all the time. It just depends on who you are if you're going to really knock him out or not. Brian Stann did it. Brian Stann's powerful. He's well-rounded. Is he as well-rounded as Jorge Santiago? Sure, but in one aspect I have to say that stands out to me about Jorge Santiago is obviously his grappling ability. He's 23-8, and with 12 of those becoming submission. Now, of course, he's got 9 TKOs, but 12 of those are submission, and his TKOs are probably mostly ground and pound type TKOs. So what ended up on the ground. He had 3 fights in 06. Santiago did, losing 2 of them to Lieben and to Alan Belcher. But he's won 11 of his last 12, primarily at Sengoku, where there's some pretty decent talent there. His ground game is phenomenal. In comparison to a Brian Stann, I think that his ground game is phenomenal. This fight will be very exciting. Brian Stann, not as fast maybe as a Jorge Santiago. Santiago I can definitely see being the aggressor, but I think it's going to end up on the ground, and I think Santiago will probably take this fight via TKO, first or second round. That's what I think. Moving on to Stefan Struve versus Travis Browne. This is going to be fun just because it's 2 huge guys. Travis Browne's 6'7". So is Stefan Struve. They're both the same type. Travis Browne's 10-0-1. 10 victories, 0 losses, 1 draw. 8 of those coming by way of TKO. His draw was against Czech Congo back in October of 2010, which I think was the last time he's had any action. I'm not mistaken. So Stefan Struve, he's been in there more. He's he's staying active. He's winning his fights. Here's a fight that I can definitely see Travis Browne winning. I can definitely see it. The thing about Stefan Struve is, if you hurt him and you don't finish him, he's going to finish you. It's just, look at his track record. That's how he does it. Last couple fights he's had, he was put down a little bit in the first and come back to win in the second. That's just how Stefan Struve does. The kid's got heart and tenacity, and he will continue to drive forward. His biggest mistake there is that he's a grappler. And I say mistake, he's his hole in his game, his chink in his armor is that he's a grappler. He's a fantastic grappler for a big as guy as he is, but his stand-up is a lot of those jiu-jitsu grapplers end up being, especially the big guys. They come out with their hands kind of down here, and they're not really trained as well in the striking area. Stefan Struve can tighten up that striking. He's going to be a force in that division. He's definitely a kid who's making his way up the ranks little by little and chopping away at it and pretty much figuring out what kind of a fighter he is. And he's getting very good at it. Runs his mouth a little bit. It's kind of annoying sometimes, but I like Stefan Struve. Against Travis Browne, we'll just say this: if Travis Browne can finish it in the first, then Travis Browne's standing up. It'll be a stand-up thing where Travis Browne will probably win by KO. Now, if Travis Browne doesn't get that KO in the first round, I'm going to go Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve just leaves himself way too open, and I think a guy of his size and same kind of reach will be able to get that punch off rather than most other people who he fights is shorter. I mean, Roy Nelson was able to get in there. Roy Nelson's a great striker. So, yeah, I definitely see Stefan Struve losing this fight in the first round if Travis Browne can be the guy that finishes it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say Stefan Struve probably going to win second or third round after he gets beat up a little bit. So, anyway, I'm Derrick Evil. This was the UFC 130 main card breakdown. Thanks for joining me. Peace. I'm out of here.